All right. So now that we're live, we'll go ahead and do things this way. So we'll kind of roll the intro now. How about that? Afternoon, a little after 5:30 here on the East Coast, and we will have our Thursday gathering as we always do. Whether it's been on the early side for our buddy Niko Moreno or on tape as we have done in the past, until I started to kind of figure out what StreamYard's up to, and so gradually we have kind of gotten stuff figured out, kind of, sort of, maybe. And now, but before Nico joins us, we'll kind of go through what happened in the afternoon and going through Conference League. Villarreal had a crazy one with Lech Poznan winning 4-3. Basakci here, a 4-0 winner at Hearts. Draw with Fiorentina and RFS at ones. Anderlecht with a win. Austria Vienna, Hapoel Beersheva, Slovácko, Partizan, Nice, Cologne, Balkani and Cluj. Those all ended up as draws. Europa League at 12:45. You had Arsenal 2-1 winners at Zurich at a minus 417. Ludogorets probably with one of the results of the afternoon with a 2-1 win over Roma at home. Betis a 2-0 winner. Same for Braga. PSV and Bodo Glimt tied at ones. Fenerbahce over Dinamo Kiev as a minus 167. Rennes 2-1 winners over Larnaca in Cyprus, and then Royal Union over Union Berlin. Union Berlin was a minus 156, and Royal Union at a 444 on the numbers ended up with the win there with what we've seen. So also in the afternoon, Conference League, your late 3 o'clocks, you had draw with Sivaspor and Slavia Prague. Basel, big favorite winner. West Ham, big favorite winner. AZ Alkmaar, big favorite winner. And then draws with the other 4 matches. Vaduz Apollon, Molde and Ghent, Rovers, Djurgården, Slovan Bratislava, and Zalgiris. All 4 were goalless draws, actually. Europa League, probably the surprise of the late games was Real Sociedad, the 1-0 winner over Manchester United at a plus 482. Lazio put 4 on the board against Feyenoord, winning 4-2. Nantes a winner at home as a favorite over Olympiacos Piraeus 2-1. Our buddy Sheriff Tiraspol got the win over Omonia Cyprus 3-0 on the road. Sturm Graz a winner. Freiburg a winner over Karabag at a minus 250. Monaco over Red Star, and Ferencváros over Trabzonspor by the score of 3-2. So that was your 3 o'clocks, and those have ended. You've got lower divisions going on in Central and South America, and you've got Liga Profesional de Futbol coming on at 7:30. Union Santa Fe and Sarmiento Junín, Argentinos Juniors, Rosario Central. Those are at 7:30. I think those you can pick up on Paramount Plus. Also on the board, it is Ecuador CONCACAF League is at 8. Real España is at home to Herediano out of Costa Rica. Herediano's a plus 150. On the road at Real España, who's a plus 200, plus 202 or so. One of our favorite names, the strongest, a big favorite at home at 8:15 in Bolivia against Oriente Petrolero, who is a minus 500. And also Sudamericana, Sao Paulo, and Atletico Goianiense. Sao Paulo is a minus 278. And also at 10 o'clock tonight, CONCACAF League, Diriangen out of Nicaragua, going up against our friends Olympia, who have been troublemakers as far back as we can remember when it's been paired with CONCACAF Champions League folks. Olympia is a minus 118 on the road at Diriangen in Nicaragua, and Diriangen is a plus 336. So that is your afternoon action. Obviously, the biggest news on the board comes from Graham Potter actually signing. Everything is locked and loaded with his time at Chelsea. And so we saw him sign on a 5-year deal, appointed as a head coach. And so we'll see what happens. And if he makes it to year two, we'll see if it happens. Heavy expectations, but getting back to the controversial penalty with Manchester United losing their Europa League opener, that was what you saw there. Mendes in the 59th minute, Real Sociedad got the 1-0 lead, and they worked their way through. Following the death of Queen Elizabeth II earlier in the evening, both sets of players wore black armbands. You had a minute's silence. Still waiting to hear across the board what the changes to the schedule will be after Queen Elizabeth passes at the age of 96. Friday's fixtures have been postponed as a mark of respect. The decision of the other matches will be on Friday morning following a discussion with the Department of Culture, Media, and Sport. SPFL's game with Cove and Dundee has been postponed. They'll update on the weekend when they know more there. Northern Ireland Football League said Friday night's matches, there were 2 postponed. Update Friday about Saturday. UEFA decided Thursday evening fixtures would go ahead, as we've talked about, with final scores. A minute's silence at both Old Trafford and the London Stadium before kickoff. So you might have seen the European Tour suspended play at the BMW at Wentworth for the remainder of Thursday. No play at the tournament Friday. Further updates when that happens as well. U.S. Open tonight. We'll have a tribute to Queen Elizabeth II, moment of silence, and a photo montage ahead of the first women's semifinal. F1 in the Italian Grand Prix. Set to go ahead this weekend. Formula One president and CEO Stefano Domenicali said Formula One sends its deepest condolences to the royal family, to the people of the UK and the Commonwealth. And then you have other events as well. So we'll keep you posted on fixtures specifically tied to soccer and such. And we will let you know what is going on there, obviously, with the passing of Queen Elizabeth II at the age of 96 earlier today at Balmoral. When Niko joins us coming up in just a little bit, we'll go over everything that has gone on in Major League Soccer. JP Vita, it's a question that we get asked a lot. And the short answer is we don't know, because Jason's fighting long COVID. And, thanks to everyone who has been hanging out with us as best you have. And, Jason's fighting long COVID, and it's a beast. It's a bear, and his priority for health and welfare is really the priority that we're taking here. And so we want him to be as healthy as possible for all the other stuff that he does. And we will keep an eye on that. But that's the short answer, JP, is that we don't know. We want Jason to be as healthy as possible and fighting long COVID. We all know those who have had COVID. I know folks who are fighting long COVID to this day, and it's been, almost a year for some folks. So biggest priority for Jason is to be as healthy as possible. And so we will continue to marshal on. And thanks to everybody who continues to be with us every single day when it comes to what we're doing here at Soccer Down Here. We've got some interviews coming up tomorrow that are a part of the network on the weekend. We'll have some more stuff, obviously, with our network material that we have on a weekly basis, all the USL material that's there and all that. And now, thank you, JP. But yeah, we're still going to have all the content that we've always had. The daily show might be a little different. It's only different on Thursdays time-wise, because it just has to be a power hour because of my high school commitments, and I've got to be in the studio at a certain time for that to happen. And so that's why Niko graciously consented to do things in the afternoon when he's on his third cup of coffee, and he will let us know what's going on in his mind. And it's been fun to always catch up with him with everything that has been going on in his world. Niko's obviously on the road. So technology, we're trying to be as patient as possible when it comes to everything involving Niko Moreno and our buddy there at Pulso Sports. And we'll catch up with him with the weekend that was in Major League Soccer. And we will briefly, Dawn Star, we did talk about it when it came to Potter going to Chelsea, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. But first, I see him. I see him. We've got the backdrop. He's working the hat. He's in the green room. He's working the hat. There we go. He's got the bill down. We're going to add him. So you know what that means. We get to roll. This is what we get to do now. hanging out with us. And so, first and foremost, my friend, how are the wheels?
They are back on. That's priority number one. I am safe. Luckily, my dad and everybody, listen to your fathers. He told me to upgrade from the manufacturer jack to nice, heavy, easy to use jack, and I'm back on. I'm ready to go.
All right, so we'll do a good half hour and make sure that you get home safely as always. When you look back at the week that was, and I know that folks here want to hear what you think about the interesting couple of days involving Atlanta United with Miles Robinson and Joseph Martinez. Let's just go ahead and start with that as the lead. I know that you've had those conversations on your social media as well. What's been your what have you been able to glean from your audience about what folks are saying about Joseph Martinez there on the West Coast?
Well, let's start with that one. That's the one that we, in one way or another, had some indications that there could be some issues. I straight up asked Gonzalo Pineda maybe a couple of months ago when they played Seattle about the locker room, about issues with specifically Almada and Joseph Martinez, and he denied it. He talked about, he asked, he told me, Nico, tell me what you know that I don't know. And honestly, there really wasn't anything other than red flags and, once again, indications, signals that there could be something going on. Today, we are aware that there was something going on, that, whenever there's a suspension, and I'm not going to go into what happened or didn't happen because I have no inside information, and I understand that what happens in-house stays in-house, but there's clearly something going on. And you didn't have to have a magic ball or have inside information to know that who Jose Martinez is. He's someone who wants to be on the field every single day. He is a dog. He's passionate. He lives for this stuff. And he was not going to be on the bench and just kick back. He wasn't going to see Cisneros come in and be productive, have some success, and be okay with it. So at the end of the day, guys, I don't think this is all on Gonzalo Pineda. I'll stick to saying that he was the right guy for the job. I think he's still the right guy for the job. But this locker room was going to be hard, and it didn't matter who it was that came in. It could have been you, John, it could have been me, Pep, Mourinho, and there would have been some issues going into this locker room. Ever since the Frank de Boer era, there have been issues internally within this team. That said, could he have handled that differently? Maybe. One of the things that I have put out on Twitter is that in that conference that we had with him, he mentioned that Brian Smetzer was better dealing with people and with players per se. So maybe that's something he's developing in. Gonzalo is a student of the game, great strategist, but perhaps that portion of understanding how to deal with a locker room is still growing. So it's difficult. It's a hard time in Atlanta between what happened with Joseph and now Miles. Just things are not looking well ahead for Atlanta, but I will stick with saying that Gonzalo Pineda is still the right guy for the job.
What about the notion, and this was made in public media, in the public sphere, that assistants, if you're supposed to be a super club, assistants shouldn't be your hires. I completely and vehemently disagree with this notion. It was addressed by Gonzalo Pineda in a press conference. What is your thought pattern on the idea of, okay, if you're trying to be a big dog, you should be chasing after other big dogs and not going after the top assistants? What's your thought on that?
No, I disagree with it. I mean, that is something that goes with the job. It's one of the things that, I don't know, the unwritten rules, if you will, but I mean, it goes with it. So I disagree. I don't know what, Gonzalo is someone who says things and there needs to be more context to it. But no, but I'm with you. I agree that it's part of the job. It's something you have to come along and be ready to just be able to build on. So yeah, no, I disagree with it.
For me, I've always been of the thought that if you have a particular, and this is from a front office perspective, if you have a particular philosophy in mind, you're going to look at those individuals that match your philosophy. You're not going to be chasing after guys that are 180 degrees away who might be a larger name, where you would have to do more and tear more walls down to try to rebuild them up, as opposed to try to have guys that were there along that same thought pattern. And if it just so happens that it's one of the top assistants in the league that you're in, then that's your guy, regardless of everyone else who might be linked, as you say, Pep, Mourinho, Conte, Pochettino, Becasese, doesn't matter. If it matches your philosophy and it just so happens that this guy is a top assistant, then that should be the direction that you go.
And as a coach, you know what situation you're going into. This wasn't something that he was blindsided with, and you have to make the best use out of that. So why not embrace that rather than to go against it? So I'm totally with you. When you have someone who has that much resource and understanding, you just have to be able to go with it. I mean, that's something that I feel like at times Gonzalo Pineda, I don't want to say talks too much, but maybe talks himself into a corner that he generally shouldn't have to do. But if I had to just put it all into one paragraph or one comment, I would think that Gonzalo is having a hard time dealing with the outside components of being a head coach, not the X's and O's, regardless of the issues defensively that this team has had and the decline that you've seen conceding goals and things like that. But I think he's having a hard time with everything outside of the pitch, outside of just being the coach that builds a roster, gets them prepared, gets them ready, goes over film, and it's something that he's going to have to change real quick and find a way to do it. Because all of these things that you're seeing and hearing are beginning to make it seem as if he was the wrong choice, when I feel like that's not necessarily the case.
When you look at, the team here where SDH is based and the team there where you are based, it is a season of two clubs that are in unfamiliar positions with only a handful of matches to go in the regular season. And both teams are chasing what they self-expect, to create a word, out of every season. You expect to be heading into the postseason. You expect to be chasing after titles and championships. And right now, Atlanta United 6 points out of a playoff spot. They have 5 matches to go. The folks in front of them, I think it's a mandatory 6-pointer against Toronto this weekend, where I think both teams have to go for it. A draw is unacceptable for both. Toronto, Insigne had some injuries. He was kind of grabbing at the back of his leg at the end of the Canadian Classique against Montreal. Don't know what his status is going to be. And it appeared that he was not at practice today, and he was dealing with family issues, and one of the other players was there with him to help him. Yeah, and so you're looking at possible absences from Toronto as they're heading toward a match in Atlanta where they need 3 points. Atlanta needs 3 points just as badly, and you and I are talking in mirror image, where Seattle is 6 points out now behind Portland, and Seattle has 5 matches left. And so as you and I are talking here on both sides of the screen, we're discussing mirror images of the situation with only a handful of matches to go.
Yeah, and it really is, right? I mean, you're talking about must-win games. There's no room for error, no margin for mistakes. And with a roster that you would expect to be at a higher level. There's a lot of talent in Atlanta. There's a lot of talent in Seattle. There's good coaching on both ends, but things have not gone the way that you would expect. But at the end of the day, there has to be a way for both coaches and both groups of players to get out of that slump. The difference here is that although both teams have dealt with injuries, you do have a Brian Smetzer that has been a long-term coach, knows and understands what he needs out of these players. He has a veteran group. And in Atlanta, you don't really have that. You have a lot of talent, but the experience and the continuity and that connection between head coach and group is not quite there. And I'm not sure if Pineda could have built that any quicker. So I don't want to blame him for it.
Right.
But there's definitely a huge difference on what Seattle has to take on than Atlanta. Atlanta has a much tougher road ahead, regardless of schedule. I'm not talking about who you have this week coming up. I'm talking about what it takes for a team to get out of a slump and what it takes for a team to believe that they can get to that spot. I can tell you something right here, and everybody watching, there is not one person in this locker room in Seattle that does not believe that they can make the playoffs, because that's all they know. All they know is making it to the playoffs. All they know is that Nicolas Dodero is going to find a way, that Stefan Fry is not going to let a goal go by. Atlanta just doesn't have that at this moment in time. And although they're going to face a Toronto team that is probably going to be missing some players because of everything you just mentioned, Atlanta has to beat Atlanta first before they can beat any team. And I think those are the issues. Locker room, confidence, belief, unity, cohesiveness. Those are the teams that I think are holding Atlanta back at this moment.
One of our folks in the Twitch pitch, D. Graham, is in, and he says, I think Gonzalo's having a tough time because he only picked a few of these players and was expecting the Joseph of old, which in a way he's getting.
That's a perfect point. That is a perfect point. That's a great just overall thought, because when I feel like I could maybe build my team on the Joseph Martinez of 2018, 2019, even 2017, and I'm not getting that, it's going to be difficult for me to do it. And now I'm having to go get a couple of players to come in and kind of fix things for me, and it's just not going that route. Because now, although some of those players like Cisneros have been productive, now I'm creating a bad situation internally, and I'm having a broken locker room. And there's the Joseph guys, and there is the Joseph personality that is not going to take away just players within that group, but fan bases and media members that want to see Joseph in the starting rotation, but I can't allow that as a coach, because maybe I'm not seeing that from Joseph on a day-to-day basis. And maybe in a specific game, I need to have a Cisneros out there. But Joseph is not going to understand it, because all he knows is that I need to play because I am who I am. Right. So it's just hard. It's a really tough situation, and one that I could admit that I did not see coming. Gonzalo Pineda was under Brian Smetzer enough to know what it takes to hold the locker room together, and that just hasn't been the case, man. It is difficult. I'm going to add something for you that you probably won't hear anywhere else, and I'll be careful on how I place this, because it could come off wrong.
Right.
But young South American players that are very talented have a hard time taking directions from certain players. It's not the same thing, regardless of how bad Heinze did. Heinze had a little bit of credibility and a little bit of respect from certain South American players. Gonzalo, from a guy like me, has all of the credibility in the world, has all of the respect. But for somebody like, I don't know, Almeida or Joseph Martinez, they're not really sold on him. They don't really know what he did as a player. They don't really know much about what he did here in Seattle. So sometimes that message you're trying to get across as a player, a former player, because I know that's something Gonzalo uses, maybe it's not getting across to certain pieces of that locker room. So you have to learn how to change that up and figure out how to get the best out of certain players, man. So there's just a lot of things that maybe were not as easy as we all thought for Gonzalo that he's having to deal with right now.
And you have a player in Joseph Martinez, where if you go back, Christian Dyer had an article back in 2017 at MLSsoccer.com where Joseph had disagreements with Tata Martino. We know about the disagreements with Frank de Boer. There was the instance where Gabriel Heinze pulled Joseph off to the side and had him training on his own. And now you have an instance with Gonzalo Pineda. So you're 4 for 4 with full-time coaches with Joseph Martinez, with his personality and who Joseph wants to be. He wants to be the guy, the 90-minute guy, and he wants to be out there the whole time trying to create. And so we're seeing this once again with Joseph as trying to be the tip of the spear for Atlanta United again.
And that's why you make the big bucks. And that's exactly why you are the man. And I'm just the guy here visiting in your show, because that is exactly something that everyone has to see. Maybe Joseph is the issue at the time, man. I mean, maybe we got to start thinking about the pros and cons out of having someone with that much drive and passion and past success, when maybe at this moment in time he's not really able to put that on the field. There's been injuries, there've been problems with coaches where maybe it's time to look elsewhere. And maybe Gonzalo is doing something that every coach should have done with Joseph. And those times, there were attempts to try to fix that, but it could be an issue where a player perhaps is no longer buying in what the club wants. And I'm going to give you you're an NFL guy, but a lot of what happened here in Seattle with Russell Wilson, where he came to the point where, in a much lesser direct form, because Russell wasn't that guy, he was expecting more say in the club, but it wasn't going to be good for the club long term. So maybe is that the issue? I would say at this point.
Oh, Niko needs to go back to where he was sitting. All the Wi-Fi, man. Okay, I'm going to be patient and hope that the Wi-Fi reconnects with Niko Moreno, our friend from Pulso Sports in Seattle, and he was getting into the discussion that we were having about Atlanta United, Seattle, both teams chasing after playoff spots, and all of that. We do have a couple of quick things that I can get into before Niko comes back in. Dawn Star, I know you wanted to talk about Graham Potter going to Chelsea. We talked about it this morning, and let me get Niko out of the frame briefly. And we talked about it this morning, and you wonder if Graham Potter is going to get even 2 years on a 5-year deal. That's going to be part and parcel to the thought pattern there, because Bully Clearlake have a vision. Roman Abramovich had a vision, and so it'll be interesting to see how long. Graham Potter, Brighton made out. Hopefully they got the release clause. I think Michael Head this morning on the Twitch pitch said it was $17 million. So hopefully Brighton can, and we got the release from Brighton about what the staff was going to be looking like in the interim as they chase after their new manager. And so we'll see what's going on with Chelsea and see what happens going forward. And I know that, mind you, wanted to get into the 3 international friendlies of Canada. Friendly. I just want to get the look at them upcoming so I can have a good gauge as to what we're looking at here. September friendlies for our friends at AS. So you're looking, it's scheduled to face Qatar Friday 23rd, 4 days later, play against Uruguay and Vienna. So we'll get into that in just a little bit. So Niko's, hopefully there he is. All right. So Niko, there we go. Where are you at? There he
Hey,
is.
no, sorry, I don't know what happened. The system kicked me out completely.
Well, you froze. You were right in the middle of a great point about possibly looking an eye on stuff on
Yeah,
Joseph Martinez. Finish your point.
no, just on Joseph. I mean, long story short, maybe it's time for Atlanta just to figure out that the best thing to do is to maybe move on from Joseph Martinez and prioritize a long-term goal, a system, a coach that seems to know what he's doing, a young, talented team with Almeida and everyone else, and move on from Joseph, man. Because just like you said, maybe there's a common denominator where Joseph is the one that is not really buying in on what any coach is really selling.
Well, and when you have the physical capital that Joseph Martinez has with all of the goals that he scored and what he's been a part of with Atlanta United, Gonzalo Pineda I think he will be the first coach since Tata Martino in the offseason to have a second window to deal with transfers. How's that for your info stat of the day?
Hey, that's incredible. That's incredible because he talks about something that I've gone to before. It is the front office having a lot to blame with this. I mean, you have to understand that the coach, the GM, and the players coming in have to be all in one, and that's a success that you've seen here in Seattle constantly, and that's something that a lot of great teams around the league have been able to do. So, can you change that up? I think you can.
All right, let's take a look at the week that was quickly before we get into the week that will be and play cliffhanger here, as we always do to wrap up your segment. Niko Moreno, our friend, El Rolo and W on the Twitters at Pulso Sports, and we'll catch up and find out what is on his fingers, what is on his interviews, what is on all the good stuff that we've been catching up with Niko about. Okay, so cliffhanger last week, it was a double match week, and we had activity. Let's just talk, say, over the weekend, because we talked about everything that happened early on. Canadian Classic was a 7-goal thriller. Nashville chose offense again. Hani Mukhtar chasing after Driussi now for MVP with a 3-0 win over Austin at Geodas. Philadelphia kept being Philadelphia. FC Dallas scored like 3 goals in 7 minutes. You leave the room, it's goal. Come back in the room, and it's 3-0, and Minnesota's out the door. Fragapane will not be available for their match this weekend because of the red card.
Hey,
Reds, yeah, go for it.
I'm not kidding you, man. Okay, 2 things right there. Mukhtar has crossed and passed Driussi in the MVP race. Simply fantastic what he's been able to do with Nashville, the way he's been able to amplify the talent around him. Number 2, no joke, I'm watching this Dallas game on my phone in the car. Yeah. I go to put gas. I kid you not. I went and paid for gas. When I came out, I mean, it was 0-0. I come back into the car, and it's 3-0. I have to go back. I'm pushing my, app, try to go back a couple of minutes. Complete dysfunction from Minnesota United in 3 minutes. Props to Velasco and that Dallas team of just taking care of business. But both teams leave us with question marks. Minnesota on just understanding how to manage a game defensively, and Dallas, why do you wait so long? What is it about this squad that has for you just to handle things in 3 minutes? Because they didn't look great before that. So both teams talented. Can they be contenders? Sure, but I'm just not biting on either one of those.
All right, so I'm gonna play something here, and it's gonna have to do with one of the other games from the weekend that was, and then I will ask you a question. So here's the play-by-play call of the weekend.
Nice.
Va por su hat-trick. ¡Chícharo! ¡Oh, no lo puedo creer! ¡No lo puedo creer! ¡Qué demonios! Pide
Yeah. Play-by-play call of the year with Chicharito and the Panenka. Would you, sir, have gone Panenka? I know, obviously, when Chicharito was asked about it after the match, he's like, yeah, of course I would do it again, because that's how he is and how he's wired. But a Panenka at the worst possible time to chase points, and you draw Sporting Kansas City, get 1 point when you could have gotten 2 more, which would have put you at 41 points, 1 point behind RSL in Portland. And now, even with a match or 2 in hand, you've still got 3 points to climb if you're LAG. Yikes and a half.
Man, that's a tough one. And that is, I had not heard that. That is fabulous, by the way. But look, quite honestly, I understand that those who don't play the game are saying, hey, had he made it, it would have been great. It would have been amazing. Yes, we can all say that. But the reality is that at that caliber, in that moment, you have to read the game, you have to read the moment, and either you go and just bang it out and place it, or you do what you're supposed to do, which is read the goalkeeper. If he's not moving, just tap it to a corner, man. You cannot just decide to Panenka. Let that be a lesson to all of you young soccer players out there.
Yeah,
you
man.
Panenka, when the goalkeeper has sold out and gone one way, but you don't just do it because you want to do it. It's going to go wrong every single time. I expect better from Javier Hernandez, regardless of the 2 goals, and he had a great game, but that just completely erased.
Mm-hmm. Oh, froze up on me again. Oh, yeah, he was right there with it with Chicharito Hernandez. So, we'll try and see if Nico's signal improves once again here, because Nico is on the road. For those of you that missed, Niko is having flat tire issues, and so before the show started, he had to fix a flat tire, so he is on the show this week with his weekly segment remotely. So he is on the network remotely this week, on the road, and so we'll see what happens. So let me, once again, so with Niko there, there we go. Okay, so we'll try it one more time with Niko, because we are to that particular point. Mine's. Yep, it is 3 tough tests for Canada for sure, with the Qatar, Uruguay, and Japan. Qatar, very, very pesky club. Uruguay, you don't want to mess with. And Japan might be the one where Canada gets the gauge as to what they might have at the end of the September window. You want to build as you're working your way up. You want to obviously gradually get better, but then once again, when you get that continuity, it's time to head back to league play for the sprint and the remainder of the time. So we'll see what happens there. D. Graham on the conversation about Joseph, sadly of the opinion it's time to move on, build around Almada and Aruju, even though he's inconsistent. The problem is you're going to take a hit with 50% of the fan base. Also think the pressure needs to be lessened if it means we're wearing out our own players. If you want to make it a long-term plan, okay. All right. So wrap up your point on Chicharito.
Sorry about the signal, man. I'm sorry to all the audience. It's my fault completely.
Oh, good.
It has nothing to do with production, which is fantastic. Yes, long story short, you just don't do that. Javier Hernandez, great player, but you have to understand what's on the line. You have to understand that you're bigger than the moment and just secure that penalty kick. There's really no excuse. I get it. People who want to understand that that's what you do and it happens, it shouldn't happen to someone with the responsibility that Javier Hernandez has.
All right, time to play cliffhanger, as we always do, to wrap up the Thursdays with Niko. And let's get into the matchups. And once again, we've got a lot of home favorites this week with what we have this weekend. Friday Night Football, CF Montreal a favorite at home against Crew. Charlotte and NYC. NYC coming off of a 1-1 draw in the midweek against Cincinnati, still trying to figure out who they are, going to a tough environment at Bank of America. Nashville gets LAG at Geodis. Nashville's on the minus side. Red Bulls with Revs. Red Bulls on the minus side. Atlanta United, Toronto. Atlanta is on the minus side. Cincinnati and San Jose. Cincinnati at TQL is a minus 139. Philadelphia is almost a minus 200 against Orlando City because Orlando City. Let me ask you about that. What about this, what we heard before Open Cup final, where it appears that someone attached to the Orlando City franchise decided to go to the park that Sacramento Republic was practicing in, hung out for 30 minutes, said, nah, I'm waiting for somebody. Then they moved vans in front of the practice. So this dude who was recognized by Sacramento folks as someone who works for Oscar Pareja in Orlando City, who's like, nah, I'm just here waiting for a friend, walks around the vans and sits there and he's like, no, I'm not here. I'm just waiting on a friend, even though I seem to be looking at your practice. I'm just here waiting on a friend. 30 to 45 minutes of trying to get the guy to leave. He finally leaves, but not before they took the vans in front. And then the team in Central Florida obviously put 3 on the board. Facundo Torres showed who he is when you bring him active in the offense. What did you think about all of this Cupgate stuff that we were seeing out of Central Florida with Orlando City, man?
I don't know what to think, man. I guess I don't believe it. I don't see it necessary. I am a huge Oscar Pareja guy. I followed him and know him very closely since Dallas. I know what he did at Cholos. I mean, he doesn't seem like him, right? He's not the Bill Belichick type. I mean, I have to say it, man. I don't believe it. Was there someone that maybe thought it'd be beneficial? Was he acting on his own? I don't know. I don't have the answers, but to me, it just didn't feel like something you needed to do. Me and you and maybe, I don't know, 200,000 other followers know and knew what Sacramento was going to do. I mean, they play with the same lineup. They play in the same way. You knew that they were going to try to make it difficult, hold out, maybe go for PKs. What were you going to get out of having somebody at practice? That Roro Lopez is a big deal for Sacramento? Duh. So I don't know what you would get out of that. With all due respect to the Sacramento Republic that played a fantastic game, by the way, that 3-0 scoreline is not indicative of what happened in those 90 minutes. But I just don't buy it. I don't know who this guy was. I don't know if he was or he wasn't. I just don't see it. 1, necessary. 2, believable. 3, out of character for Oscar Pareja. That's all I got to say.
All right, 8 o'clock on Saturday night, Chicago hosting Inter Miami. They're on the minus side. Here's the first one for cliffhanger, and I'll call it. Seattle hosting Austin. Seattle's a minus 119. Your draw and Austin are a plus 286 heading in. What do you think?
Real quick before my signal goes out again or get kicked out. Sounders need this game big time. This is a momentum shifter. They just won against Houston at home. Another game at home. This will tell you everything you need to know about the Sounders' chances. If they can win this game, they are ready to get into the playoffs and make a splash, because that's what this team is about. Knowing when to turn it on, this could be it. So big game, not easy. Still no Christian Roldan. A lot of difficulties in this game. But Stephen Fry said it today. This is the must win. This team needs to be worried about this game and this game only, because it's the only one that matters. This game will tell you whether Seattle is alive or not. So big game here in Seattle.
All right, so 8:30, Dallas hosting LAFC. LAFC is a road favorite. Houston, a home favorite against Sporting, even though they found their offense. Rapids, a minus 147 at home against Vancouver. RSL, a minus 164 against DC United. MLS After Dark, 10 o'clock Eastern. Portland hosting Minnesota United. Portland, a minus 112. Your draws, a plus 293. Minnesota United, a plus 263. No Fragapane.
Point. I'm taking Portland on that one. Minnesota, a lot of inconsistencies. They just show you what you can't trust them in the playoffs. Love what they want to do, but they can't execute. You have to give me a team that knows what to do in 90 minutes. They're not it. Timbers is. They'll win this one. Be a good game.
All right, what's going on at Pulso Sports and with you these days? Quick plug.
Pulso Sport, we got all of Austin, Seattle background interviews. Going to be a really big one for Seattle. We're going to be all over it today.
Oh, he almost made it. He almost made it. Ah! Oh, he almost made it. We were right there at the end. Oh, man, it's the beauty of live television. You know, we were rushing to get through cliffhanger. We got right to the end. Right there, and he knew it too. He's trying to pitch. He was trying to figure out how to talk that much faster to get it in. His signal will it'll fade him out one more time, and we'll bring him back in for the close to plug everything Austin, Seattle, and everything else at Pulso Sports. But I'm gonna let him do it tomorrow here at SDH as we get ready for one more round during the week. 8:45 start. It will be 8:45. Here he is. All right. So, Niko, there he is. All right. Hit it. You were talking about having Austin and Seattle everything. Go.
Seattle and Austin everything. Clearly, it's going to be a big week for Seattle regardless. Today, we have Stephen Fry. We have Danny Leyva, a guy that's in my best 22, under 22 of MLS.
Yep.
Guy you should be watching for this Saturday against Austin. A couple of big interviews here for Pulso Sports tonight before 7 o'clock Pacific time. They'll be on there.
What he said. Niko Moreno, El Rolo, and W on the Twitters. It's another round of Thursdays with Niko. Congratulations. Be safe getting home, my friend. Glad you're able to join us. Be safe. We'll catch up next week.
Appreciate you. My apologies. I owe you guys coffee, drinks, and some wings.
Nah.
I love you guys. Love this audience. I wouldn't do it for anybody else. I swear to you. I would not be just parked in the middle of nowhere if it wasn't for my people down south. Love y'all. Everyone.
Be well, Niko. All right, Niko, we're going to make sure that Niko actually gets home in one piece. So get home in one piece, and we'll do it again next week with Niko. That was fantastic. All right, so, and I mean, seriously, he had to fix a flat tire. For those of you that joined the show in progress, he had to fix a flat tire to get on. Traditionally, we would do this at 5 o'clock Eastern time, but because of fixing the tire, we waited till 5:30 to get things to happen right now. Broadcast plans for the game here in Atlanta. It is 7:30 start. So that means that pregame show on 92.9 The Game starts at 7 with Jason and Mike. Traditionally, your voice is there. So 92.9 The Game, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:30 kick. Tomorrow morning on SDH. Friday, we start early. 8:45, 15 minutes early, 20 minutes early. So Jarrett and I can get through the weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming, hopefully. Then at 9:30, it's the Friday free kick. I think it's Michael Parkhurst's turn to catch up and let us know what's going on with our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring. It's great to catch up with him and Greg Garza and get everything that's going on in their world and discussing the value of mentoring and how you can be a mentor to others, and not just playing soccer, but how it resonates and does a lot of things gravitationally, and it spreads itself out when it comes to everything that you're doing when it comes to mentoring. So that's at 9:30. 10 o'clock, we will get you ready for the rest of the news of the day and the weekend and everything else. So it'll be a packed Friday morning at SDH, 8:45 start, and we will roll through everything going on the weekend. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Great to see Mines for the first time here. So Mines, you mentioned Qatar, Uruguay, and Japan for Canada. Going to be tough tests. But once again, remember, you want to build your momentum at the end of the September window. Of course, you build your momentum. It's time to go back to your domestic leagues. But those are 3 tough tests. I think that Qatar is going to be a testy one. You should be able to take care of business there. Uruguay might be the toughest of the 3. Japan will be an interesting matchup for them as well. But I think that it'll kind of go, should be able to handle, going to be tougher, might be able to handle. So it's probably like a Laffer curve when it comes to what Canada is looking at in the September window. And it is crucial practice. You are right. Mines, glad you're here. Don't be a stranger. Traditionally, we're 9:05 Eastern time with our daily programming. And we have a lot of taped programming across the board on the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android. Thanks to our friends at Kickoff Coffee, kickoffcoffeeco.com for all of the the great coffee that they are creating. You can follow along at Kickoff Coffee CO on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There's the QR code. If I need to rip the banner off so it can be closer to the screen on future shows, I will. So you can get the QR code for Kickoff Coffee. Use the code SoccerDownHere15. You get 15% off your purchase for Kickoff Coffee. And at the same time, you turn around and they turn 10% around toward youth initiatives and the youth part of the game. So very, very cool stuff from our friends at Kickoff Coffee. Thanks to our friends at Lemonize. For odor-free, clean, fresh air, one place you need to go. It's the Lemonize service. So lemonize.com/Atlanta for their proven scientific formula to attack odors all the way down to the molecule for odor-free, clean, fresh air. Lemonize service where you need to go. So thanks to Niko. Man, that was banner duty for Niko Moreno. Hanging out with us for his normal Thursday visit. We'll be back at it again, 8:45 in the morning. Enjoy the return of the American football later tonight. Set your fantasy teams for both American football, and if you didn't want double match week with North Carolina, with NYCFC and FC Cincinnati, do that tonight or tomorrow as well. Chris Ashley still undefeated in the fantasy league. So that is the latest on Thursdays with Niko. Back at 8:45 in the morning. That's the end of the show. Play it safe, everybody. That means I get to do this.